are. Here we are. Hey, everybody. Good morning. James Elliott here with a good friend of mine, Luki. He is a career coach, Toronto's career coach, in fact, for young professionals, students. And he shares a lot of stuff I wish I knew earlier, which is really cool, as his books on the right side there say. I'm looking forward to a signed copy because I want to read that too. And it's about stuff I wish I knew earlier. And again, a focus on elevating soft skills. I don't want to take the words out of your mouth, but often what you do, you've told me rather, is just career coaching for young professionals. And today I want to open it up and have it relevant and share why this is relevant for everyone. Honestly, that's looking for purpose, for direction, for clarity, that has confusion over what they want to do or what they could or should or shouldn't do in their lives, their work, their careers, and overcome the programming, and overcome the curated content, as you said, on social media, people's perfect lives, everything seems perfect and everything seems perfectly happy, but it's not true. So welcome. Okay.
Well, thanks, James, for having me. And I think where this discussion started was, I mean, my demographic tends to be young professionals, recent grads, students. So call it 18 to 35 for those of you out there that might be listening. And a lot of folks come to me with the pressures from their parents and society to finish school and basically have things figured out, right? So you go to a program and are supposed to know what you want to do, right? And sometimes when people ask that question, it's like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. But they kind of fake it till they make it, and they see all their friends who landed a job, who are in the firm or the company that they wanted. And they're like, well, do I need to have things figured out? So we thought it'd be useful to have a discussion related to all those things, where it's actually okay not to have things figured out. And that's possibly part of the niceties or the pleasantries that will happen in your life, because sometimes figuring it out is half the fun. is the other part. But it is a challenging time with social media and everybody's curated lives out there versus you have no idea. So what should you post? And even talking amongst like the folks that you keep in contact with, so your friends, right? Like you can't choose your family, but you can actually choose your friends. So those are some of the discussions that we thought would be helpful to have. And yeah, hopefully you can share your insights as well, and I can learn from you in regards to like what advice you might have for that demographic to help them be comfortable with figuring things out and dealing with kind of the programming they've received in school. And going from the practicality of landing a job and paying the bills versus doing what we love or loving what we do, depending on the context. So yeah, that's what we were thinking of. And thanks again for having me on.
You got it, brother. You got it. Absolutely. And you're right. It's interesting. A friend of mine, his name's Bruce, he's in his 70s, and he says, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And he, honestly, he's one of the most interesting people. In fact, a lot of the most interesting people I know, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, or they haven't got it all figured out yet. And these are people, 40, 50, 60, 70s and beyond. And I think we suffer from the whole, should and shouldn't, or can and can't, mustn't mentality, and not having a choice. Well, I should, or because I got to please my parents or please my culture or my religion or my society says this, or Facebook says this, or teachers in school say this. And I'm not knocking higher education, whatever you choose. There's many, many forms of it. But I mean, I went to college and university, and yes, I got value out of both. I'm sure there's things I still use from both. However, the bulk of what I use in my life today that makes me my money, helps people, makes a difference in my life and others, I didn't learn it in college, university. Maybe a bit I did, but more is all the courses and the specific courses and trainings I took after that. Now, again, I'm sure I've learned how to learn and be disciplined and working hard. So I learned certainly a lot of those things too. But I think we have to be careful about, okay, well, do I go to university? Do I go to college? Do I go to trade school? Do I go to do something entrepreneurial and take courses on how to start a business, instead of you spending a whole ton of money and 4 or 5 years of your life going to, especially college, university, especially if you don't know what you want or it's something general. Again, not knocking anything. I totally believe in higher education. I think it needs to be the right fit, and people know why they're going. Otherwise, I find people, you had to half-ass it. I did too at first, till I really got going and lasered what I want. People half-ass it, or they don't give their best, or the partying, because it's like, okay, I'm going through the motions because I should, and mom and dad or school or teachers or whatever said I should do this or should do that, without really being engaged and aligned. What do you find as well?
Yeah, I find that a lot of that is true, and there's a spectrum of folks, right? So there are a select few who know exactly why they're going to university, what they want, usually focused on whatever, doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer,
exactly.
Now, and then slowly or shortly behind them, there's the folks that are doing that not because they want to, but because mom and dad told them to, because society and culture or whatever expect that of them, but they don't really want to, or they don't really know why they want to. And then there's the folks that are like, well, I'm just supposed to go to university, to college, so I'll pick something, and I kind of like it. I think I know what I'm doing. And then there's the folks who have zero idea. They hope they'll figure it out along the way. Hopefully have some fun along there, maybe take a bunch of courses, electives, and during that time explore and maybe be able to identify. But there are different ways of finding that. And I think part of the challenge is the expectations, the way it's set up is really there's not that many alternatives, right? So you go to college, you go to university, right? You do the trades. Maybe there's this entrepreneurial stuff, that there might be this gap year that you can take, but really not much else in terms of what you could do. So it might be an evolution of what happens after, call it high school, right? Because you probably want to still have the foundations and basics. And then for the folks that are on the kind of that trailing half, where they really don't know what to do, maybe it should be more acceptable that there is more than a gap year. Maybe there's, call it an exploration university, right? Where maybe I take the model of like the take your kids to work day, right? That they have it here in Ontario. But what if they had like a take your kids to different workplaces every week, every month, right? You can just kind of sit beside an adult, maybe an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, or whatever, what they do, and say, is this something I could see myself doing, right? Before you commit 4 years, like tens of thousands, $100,000, right? To do that, maybe allocate that to like spending the time to with uncle so-and-so, auntie so-and-so, even pay for room and board, their version of tuition, just to survive. I mean, coming up with some sort of alternative, I think would be helpful, right? So that's just some of the things that came to mind, where like there's this notion of having it figured out. And like I said, for some, it's a reality that they have it, but for many, it's figuring it out along the way. And it's okay not to know when you're 22, right? That sort of thing.
I didn't know I was like 32, you know, it's I agree.
Exactly, to your friend that 70-year-old. And maybe that's the thing to say, like, what if it's okay to never have it figured out? And just what's the expression, like, life's about the journey, not the destination. What if every day, every decade, you're just loving life and exploring and figuring it out? And is this what you want to do? Does it really matter? And what if it doesn't matter, and you just keep on having tons of fun? So that's a couple of thoughts. What would you have to say about that?
I love when you said having tons of fun, because I think that I don't believe we're here on earth to work, 60, 80, 90, 100-hour work weeks, killing ourselves, maybe having a fancy house you never enjoy, or a fancy car you never get to drive on fun roads. You're just back and forth to work because you're literally working your life away, maybe making good money, maybe not making good money. And I see it all the time, and just people going through the motions almost on a treadmill or a wheel. And to your point, people are so anxious about having to figure it out, I got to rush to figure it out. And I tell people, just avoid worrying, relax, chill. You don't have to figure it all out. My business, I've evolved in the past 10 years since I've started my business. It's evolved. Sure. I think you're right. It's the journey. We're always journeying. We're always evolving. Versus, okay, no, I do this. I go to school, go to university, and I'm a blank for the rest of my life. Life really isn't that way anymore. Anyways, like there's statistic, I may be misquoting it, but people on average now will have three different careers on average as they go through, which makes sense. We're living longer. You want to do something else. I think that's okay. People have at least 3 different careers in their life. And
I think it's like up to 7 or something.
I think you're right, actually. So yeah, exactly. It's bananas, but it's also exciting, because if you don't like that, well, I can tweak it, or I could do something totally different, or maybe I want to go back when my dad retired, he retired young because he's very smart with his money, and he started working for IBM really early on when he was younger. So he retired, I think it was 55 year retired. He's like,
Great.
I want to do things now where all I want to do is wear a tool belt. He would do construction and tools and building stuff. That was now his second career. What he wanted, it was beautiful. It was amazing, and that's what he wanted to do. Something pretty much completely opposite to selling computers and selling software. It was incredible. I think it goes to show that to whether we're 18 or 35 or 55, people maybe still not quite knowing what they want to do, or also, okay, I want to do something different now. And that can be scary. It's like, okay, this thing that pays the bills and I've been doing, and it's comfortable, I'm used to it. It's normal for the past 5, 10, 20 years. They're doing that, and they're like, I don't want to do anymore. And it's often scary, I think, to people. And yes, some of the I would say some or most or all of the most amazing, exciting things in your life will probably be the most scary. Starting my business certainly has been the most amazing thing I've ever done, and the most scary thing I've ever done, and by far the most fulfilling, incredible thing. So that's, I think that I love your comments on that, but that's where we are. I think we really have to be careful about that. The programming from parents, culture, society, whatever it is about you this is what you do, this is what you have to do. If you don't do this, or don't go to school right away, or don't whatever, or if you're not, the whole a lot of the Eastern world influences. If you're not a doctor or a lawyer or accountant or engineer, then you're out of the family. I think all that stuff can be so detrimental, so toxic to people.
Yeah, and I think some of the concepts that are used in like the career coaching world is they have like a concept of like a North Star, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone should be always going to that direction. And I find that can be helpful for many people, but for a lot of folks, it's a little bit different. Where, well, should I go north, south, east, or west? I have no idea. What if I want to do all of it, right? And my I guess response to that is less about the direction that you're going, but more, are you the one steering the ship? Right. So I actually found a helpful for myself as well. A helpful thought is like, what if the purpose of life was to live life purposefully, in that you're doing it because you want to, not because mom and dad said so, not because your culture or society said so, but because you actually want to. And sometimes it takes a lot of effort to detangle that, because is it really you, or is it because you want to please mom and dad and they want it for you, right? So there's multiple layers and levels of that. But if you can actually take the time to, I guess, assess, maybe be on a hike or on a mountain or journal or whatever it takes, a therapist or coach or something,
meditate, exactly,
all that sort of thing, whatever it takes for you to figure that out, but really figuring out internally, what is it that you want, because you're unique, right? You're that person, and don't do what everybody else wants. Now, do it if that's exactly what you want, but don't do it because you, as you said, that the should word, the S word down there, that can be really challenging if you live your life there. And I've been talking to some folks where they did what they needed to do. They were successful. They landed a job at whatever, the Big Four, the bank, the engineering firm, whatever. And they're like, is that it? Do I just keep it doing this for the next 20, 30 years? Like, and what have you? Or I thought there'd be more to this. And I think there's a quote to the effect of like, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, right?
Correct.
Because if you achieved all of those things that you had supposed to do, but you're still not happy, you're still not fulfilled, then that's a big gap, right? So taking the time to figure out what does fulfill you, what does make you happy, what is success to you, not to what everybody else is, can be so helpful. And that process of figuring it out, again, is half the fun. It's, as you mentioned, going to be quite uncomfortable, right? But sometimes the discomfort is great. And I was teaching a course where I tell them that part of my job is to make all of you uncomfortable, right? Because if you're in your comfort zone, you're not learning.
There's zero growth. No growth, no learning.
Exactly. So that would be some of the things that I would suggest. And if you were to give some students, young professionals, or recent grads some thoughts on dealing with kind of the mindset you mentioned, like programming and things like that, do you have a couple of tools or kind of concepts or what have you that they could leverage in order to kind of help themselves with dealing with that not figuring it out? Maybe it's an imposter syndrome thing, maybe it's the lack of fulfillment. Anything in regards to those areas?
It reminds me of that Shakira song, "Try Everything." It was one of the, I can't remember what movie is fun, but it's try
Yes.
and avoid trying
Utopia,
everything.
it was, yeah.
Exactly. That's right. Zootopia. That's right. Instead of trying everything, but I like the metaphor.
Yeah.
Test things. Follow your passions instead of, okay, I don't know what to do. I got to figure it out. I'm not going to take action until I figure it out. A lot of people, and I've done past podcasts on this. A lot of times, action will give you. In fact, always, not a lot of times, always action will give you clarity. And a lot of people are just,
Yes.
there's the fear there. Well, I don't act, I want to do until I'm totally 100% sure, which never happens in the history of life. No one is ever totally sure, whether it's about a job or getting married or having kids or moving or whatever. It's testing and seeing what do I like, what do I not like, and learning those. Hey, I thought business would be cool, but this sitting in the cubicle thing is actually pretty damn boring. I'd rather be I don't know, teaching people how to drive or fly, or teaching scuba diving or coaching or teaching or speaking, whatever it is, sharing their passion. I love you said success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. I agree. Having all this money, especially if you don't have time to spend it or do anything cool with it, if you're just working, that is not success to me. That's failure. I learned, I had a big aha, and because I made good money back when I was in the corporate world. I wasn't fulfilled. I was not fulfilled. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot. And then coming to my business, starting my business, I felt like a broke student again. I'm like, well, this kind of sucks. But also the passion and excitement that was there that replaced. I'm like, this is amazing. I get to talk to cool people. I get to help people. So when I started my business and realizing the flexibility it gives me and the flexibility I have in my life. I often work from like Colombia for a few weeks or a month at a time in the year. I work from Roatan, Honduras, my girlfriend's house right now. I have the freedom and flexibility I want in my life. I can live and teach and speak wherever I want, unless someone wants me to speak, in a certain organization at a certain place, and that's totally cool too. Normally though, I can teach and speak and train from anywhere in the world. And I look at myself, and in fact, I already have, and it doesn't take a ton of money. I obviously do well, and I want to do very, very well, but it doesn't take a ton of money to have the freedom and flexibility, which is ironic because most people are working their butts off trying to make all this money to really have freedom, flexibility, to be able to do really whatever they want in their life. I think that's what the ultimate search is for. They want the money so they can do things, do cool things.
Yes.
And the realization was, well, A, I already have that in my life, and B, it doesn't cost nearly as much as you think, and it doesn't take as nearly as long as you think. But you're right. I used to see people on the social media channels, and it's like, oh my God, that person, they're an engineer, or they're in a corporate environment, or they work for the big banks, the big engineering firms, or for IBM or whatever. And they have this and that, and the car and the house, the picket fence and the wife, and well, I want that too. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? And looking at, maybe I should be just heads down working for the man or the woman, so to speak. And then just the realizations, now they want what I have. Now that's why they're working so hard and doing all this stuff, spending all this money, working their lives away, making all this to have flexibility to travel or to have free time with family and friends, passions, projects, things they love, to retire so they can finally do what they want to do, right? Or do what they love. I'm like, I have this now. It's amazing. And I want to get that message out there that you can have what you want now. You don't have to wait till you're retired or anything. It blew me away, that aha.
Yeah. And I know there are a lot of students, young professionals, recent grads out there that are more on that purpose path where they realize that like selling themselves, for lack of a better word, to these employers. I think there was a quote to the effect of a salary is something that someone bribed you to take in order to build their dreams and give up yours.
Give up
right?
yours, exactly.
Now that doesn't mean that you have to be an entrepreneur and go out, but there are different ways of living. And oftentimes, as you mentioned, the house and white picket fest and stuff like that, it's thinking about like, where do all these come from? I've been having discussions with folks, is like, do I actually have to own a home? Can I just rent? I was like, well, finances say that you are better off buying a home. It's like, well, but there's the other aspect where, would you rather be like house rich, but poor otherwise? Because yes, you might have a million to multi-million-dollar asset, but can you do anything with it?
Can you travel?
Do you have flexibility and things like that? And then I've been actually having more discussions with folks about like kids in marriage, right? Because that's an expectation, but
so you should or should, exactly. You should, and this is what you do.
Exactly.
Do I want this? Do I really want this?
Yeah, and I'm sure the future grandma and grandpa out there aren't too happy with me just saying that. But it's
Yeah,
one of those things. Well, again, if you want to have kids, absolutely. Like I have two, and they're the best things ever.
I love
But
it.
I don't want to necessarily wish that on anybody else if
Sure.
that's not what you want, because that's the other thing. If you have kids and you only did it because you should, that's not a great family situation to be
No.
in for anybody, right?
Or
So
maybe to find
really,
fulfillment if there's a, sorry, I cut you off there, but or maybe to
yeah,
find, not that, like you said, not the, I'm sure kids is extremely fulfilling. And again,
yeah,
I don't have kids. I don't think I want kids. It's definitely not right now. Maybe much later I'll adopt when I get to do all the amazing things I want to do, and travel with my partner, explore and learn. But to your point, exactly, it's that programming, that the shouldn't. Well, maybe you have kids, or is it just programmed and beaten into you
yes,
by your family, your cultural religion, that you need to have them, should have them? Or maybe people who have a lack of fulfillment in their life, or feeling a lack of love. It's like, okay, if I do this, if I find it, it's the carrot. You're chasing the carrot that's attached to your head, right? The carrot's here. I'm going to chase the carrot, but it's always attached
yeah,
to your head, right? Just always
yeah,
right in front of you. I'll have the kid. I'll get married. Then I'll feel this way. Then I'll be this way. No,
yes,
okay, I wasn't quite where I want. Okay, I'm not fulfilled. Well, I'll have kids. I'll have kids. That way, I'll be fulfilled and feel
yep.
good and loved and this and that.
Yeah.
I think we
I'll
need
get
to
the big
feel
house in the suburbs with the two
that'll
car,
make
3 car
everything better.
garage, right? That'll make everything better. I'll get the promotion. I'll
The
move up to the
car.
executive level. That'll make everything good.
That'll
Yeah,
make it.
for
Then
sure.
I'll feel blank. And
Yes.
I have news for people. I've coached people, like I said, 25 to 85, that people that were just out of school or in school, people that are multi millionaires, very wealthy, and or retired. And honestly, it's all this same worries, fears, confusions. Should I, would I, could I? And the programming people are chasing. So I encourage people from a young age to really think about your thinking. And is this what I want to do? Is this what I want to
Yeah.
have? Is this who I want to be? Or are these my thoughts? Are these my own goals? Or was this
Right.
literally put there by, again, parents, grandparents, society, culture, religion, beliefs, community? And you need to have, to your point, you need to find new people to hang out with and choose the people, because you are a reflection of the top 5 to 10 people you spend the most
Mhm.
time with. So, choose wisely, and hang out with people who are like who you want to be. They're figuring things out, or they're successful entrepreneurs, or successful leaders, or successful speakers, or whatever.
Yeah.
Your point, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. I love it. And but go ahead, you were going to say.
No, and that for the friends that are, or the folks that are worried that, well, does that mean I have to like fire my friends and get a whole new set? It's like, well, no. What you want to do is probably spend like one less hour with that friend that's like living in their parents' basement and not accomplishing much in their life, but
Sure,
they're
sure.
really cool and fun, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And then one more hour with the person doing what you want to be doing, right?
yeah, yeah.
And then turn them potentially into friends, and then slowly, gradually pick the balance that works well for you, because balance doesn't necessarily mean 50-50, right? It could be
Mm-hmm.
different for different points in time. So
Correct.
I think a lot of those things are helpful, and I think the foundation is really focusing on you, right? And being honest with yourself. Is it what
Okay.
you want? Are they your thoughts? Are they your wants and desires, or were they put there through conditioning, programming, or what
Mhm.
have you, from somewhere else? And when you can get honest with, yes, this is what I
Yeah,
want, that is actually the best answer,
yeah.
right? It doesn't have to have any other reason other than I want it to my own core. This
Right.
is what I want to do and
Yeah,
accomplish.
yeah.
But there's also a bit of the practicality of it, because some of it where I want to be, I don't know, able to travel like first class or everywhere and live in like lavish 5-star hotels. Well, there's some ways of or means that are needed for that.
Okay.
Versus, you know what? Do you actually want to do that, or do you just want to travel and explore the world? Because there's
Correct.
ways of doing that on a
Absolutely.
budget with less money. Do
Correct.
you really need first class every time? Do you really need a 5, 6, 7-star hotel each time, right? Versus is it more the exploration, things like that?
Correct.
But yeah,
It's
just
fair.
considering some of those. Yeah.
And I always joke, I'm like, I'm not even in the damn hotel anyways. Why would I pay for? I mean, when I when I have money oozing from my pores and falling in my pockets, well, sure, why not? But it's like, to your point, it's a lot less expensive, and you can still live in style, live in luxury, especially a lot of third world countries, or parts of Asia,
Mhm.
parts of South America. You can live like a king for very, very cheap. You make dollars and live on pesos or whatever. It can be very cheap. And to your point, it's like, well, do I move out and have freedom, move out of my parents' house, or move out of my whatever, or do I move back into my parents' house because I'm starting a business? And I think there should be no shame in that. or living with a roommate or multiple roommates or something, because that will give you freedom. Like people move out and I gotta get a job because I want my freedom, I want my own place. Yes, but that can also be limiting freedom. You have your own place now, you have some freedom. However, you may be stuck in a place or stuck in a job or stuck paying a certain rent. So I have to stay in this job versus, well, if I were to move with a friend or move back home or stay at home or something, there's nothing wrong with that, because then that way, and that's what I did. I stayed at home longer and I started my business. And without worrying about paying rent or paying mortgage back then, and say I'm saving my money at the same time, I'm able to earn less. So I was able to start my business and again feel like a broke student again, and not worry about all these bills, and I wasn't trapped by having to stay in let's say a corporate job to make the money just to pay my bills, which was going to trap me there in that house. Having that freedom, the illusion of freedom, well, actually I'm trapped because I have to pay for this house and I can't start a business or travel or whatever. And to your point, maybe I Airbnb, and I Airbnb all over the world. I have a place. I'm fortunate enough to have a place, but I Airbnb my own place when I'm not there, and I go Airbnb places all over the world. So to your point, do you really need a big house and needing to be, was it house rich, but money poor, cash poor, and freedom poor? Or just because the thing is, get a house, get a mortgage, get a house? Or can you just travel the world and live pretty cheaply, traveling the world and Airbnb or renting places and living and working abroad? I think it's a very valid thing. That's for sure. I'm glad you touched on that.
Yeah. And keep in mind, not everybody has to start a business and travel the world and whatever. Right. If you want to stay local and just live a comfortable life, whatever, at a cottage in a small little place with minimal amenities, that's fine. If you just want to hang out with friends and things like that, again, that's fine. But keep in mind, is it what you want, or is it what you've been conditioned otherwise? And really being honest about it, I think is really helpful.
So, I think you're right. Yeah, it's being honest with yourself and being, it's gonna be uncomfortable. Thinking about your thinking versus the treadmill of life. Sit down, meditate, think about your thinking, and just having that. Yeah, and is this really what I want? Am I doing really what? Am I being the man or woman I really want to be? Is this really what I want? Or is this to please people, culture, society, to feel like I'm loved because people like me? Or wow, he's got the big corner office. Or wow, look at the car he's got, or she's got this, or she's got that. Is that really it, or is that all? It's just a means to an end, to feel like you're powerful or worthy or special or lovable, or to feel good about yourself and to make others like you, so you feel better about yourself. Versus why don't I invite you to like yourself, and then you're like, well, then I'm going to just be a backpacker and travel the world working. And again, with a lot of jobs these days, like even corporate jobs, you can travel and work abroad even when working for another company. It's a beautiful thing these days. That's for sure.
For sure. So I guess we summarize where it's okay to not have things all figured out, right? And first of all, just realize that that's the case, and take some time to figure it out. And it doesn't have to be perfect on the first go, right? And it evolves because the world has changed so much. Things like COVID, things like all this technology out there, it will continue to change. So even what you think and what you plan for will be different than what you imagine. And you'll need to be a little bit flexible on that as well. But kind of the general premises or general goals might be helpful to, yes, maybe there's travel in there, maybe there's family, maybe there's kids, maybe there's whatever you want. And if something happens along the way where it's less likely to happen or less aligned, then it can, right? Your goals and your dreams are not set in stone, right? I've had folks where, they go down the path and they think they want to have kids. They think they want to climb the corporate ladder. They think they want to do whatever. And then it changes, and then it goes back, and then something else, right? So who knows? But having that flexibility and more, I guess, the compassion to say that, you know what, whatever I'm doing is okay. And as long as you're doing it purposefully and wanting to kind of build off of that to go to other areas. So and
I love that you said that. I think that's a great, I think that's a great place to leave it. It's just whatever you're doing is okay, and to try everything, as the song, as Shakira song was, do everything, test everything, versus sitting in silence or being miserable, wallowing about your life, and you test different things, try and do different things. Dare I say, try different things, and that's how we figured out. We figure things out. Clarity is brought through action, not through sitting and being in your head all day. Yes, meditate and think about your thinking. Is this what I want? What I want to do? What do I actually want for myself? And why am I doing all this stuff? Is it to please others, or is it so I look good or feel loved or feel special because people like me because I got the fancy car and the big thing and the nice house? Is that really to make people like me? Do I need that fancy, or do I just want to live on the beach and travel and work from the beach or work from tree houses all day long, take care of elephants or whatever it is? So I think that's a great last point that you said. It's like, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay not to figure everything out right away, and to test and do things, take challenges. It's uncomfortable and it's also fun and wild exciting. Well, that didn't work out, or I didn't really like that, and let me try this, let me test. Oh, that's really cool, let me go further with that. I think that's a great advice you left us with.
Awesome. So thanks again for having me as part of this conversation, and hopefully the folks that are listening and watching along took some value from it.
Right on. I'm sure they did. So again, Luki, people can go to linkedin.com/in/Luki Danu, LUKIDANU. They can also go to youtube.com/focus inspired. Any other ways? What's your website? How can people reach you?
Yeah, focusinspired.com/links. We'll have links to everything, but those two are the main ones. So feel free to connect, reach out if I could be of help, or if any of these resonated. I'm happy to have conversation. And for those that don't feel comfortable in connecting yet, yeah, there's lots of similar or helpful content on YouTube for you to take a look at. Very so cool. Thanks again, James, for the opportunity to share.
My pleasure, brother. Thanks for helping me do what I love. And again, whether you're 18, whether you're 16, whether you're 18, whatever it is, it's just, again, it's okay not to have it all figured out, and just take action, test, do different things is my best advice. It can be uncomfortable, it can be wildly fun, wildly fulfilling, tons of growth. And again, have fun doing it, and reach out to someone like Luki if you need some support, help, some clarity and direction as well. If you want to nuke these limiting beliefs, reach out to me as well. If you want to nuke these beliefs and the programming and get past that voice in the head that says you can or can't or should or shouldn't, let's talk. Until next time, thanks for joining us, Luki. Have a good day.
Thanks, James.